We've got three big ones left on the road to the Kentucky Derby. Scott Hazelton joining you from a very wet Lexington, Kentucky, as we get set for the Toyota Bluegrass here at Keeneland Racecourse on the West Coast, the Grade 1 Santa Anita Derby, and then up in New York, the Wood Memorial. If you haven't heard, Toyota Bluegrass shifted to Tuesday with all of the severe weather that has hit Western and throughout the entire state of Kentucky, as well as other states surrounding. So hopefully if you're in one of those spots, you're staying safe with everything that's been thrown in this direction. But I'm not going at it alone as we talk about these three major Kentucky Derby prep races. I have got a great team joining me here this evening. It is Matt Bernier as well as Andie Biancone. And this is a unique show for a multitude of reasons because, first of all, Toyota Bluegrass shifted to Tuesday. That's kind of a side story to this show. Andie Biancone, she is showcasing a ceiling fan and a vent just behind her, not just any vent, it is a vent on the ceiling. And then Matt Bernier is joining us as he battles something that we are very familiar with, Andie, Los Angeles traffic. He landed at LAX. He's driving to the greater Arcadia area, and Matt did the right thing. He's not driving, for full disclosure, right? The car is not in motion. We see a static background behind you, but that LAX to the San Gabriel Valley journey is one of the worst.
It was shocking how I kept looking at the estimated time of arrival, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm like, I'm supposed to be getting closer. This isn't how
Oh
it
my
works.
gosh.
So, welcome to California.
Matt,
And
you're
there's
better
no
than
way
me. I would have
there's
just
no
kept
way around it.
driving.
Well, there's no way around it either, Matt. Like you can't, it doesn't matter. You take the shorter route, it just keeps getting longer and longer. And here's another
Yes.
pro tip for you in LA. Traffic begins at about 12:30. It doesn't end until about 8:30. So it's like an 8-hour window.
Wonderful. Good
Yeah.
to know. I'll
Yep.
file that away.
Yes. All right. You guys ready to go?
Ready.
Sure.
All right. We're going to start with the race in New York. This is on Saturday from Aqueduct, the Grade 2 Wood Memorial, 100 points to the winner, Road to the Derby, presented by Spendthrift Farm, as the road always is here on FanDuel TV. And this is the biggest field, Matt, that we've got to sort through. And a race that I would say of the three, is it fair to say that these horses have the most to prove of those headliners of the races that we'll be talking about a little bit later on?
I think so. I think there's a reason that it's the largest field assembled because you've got a number of horses that are trying to prove that they actually belong. And then your contenders, I don't want to say there are questions, but there's certainly questions as far as Rodriguez is concerned. What happens if he doesn't get the lead? And for Captain Cook, he just kind of needs to prove that Withers performance wasn't a flash in the pan. I'm of the opinion that the race just goes through the inside two horses. And I know that that's kind of Captain Obvious. But if Rodriguez is able to break with Mike Smith aboard and make the lead, we know what he's capable of doing when he gets out to the front end. We saw that with that 100 buyer when he broke his maiden here in California. And conversely, if someone does decide to go with him, Captain Cook has shown a willingness to sit. He's shown a willingness to run at a mile and an eighth at Aqueduct. I don't really have many knocks about him or questions about him, frankly. The rest of the field, I think, has a lot of questions to answer if they want to prove that they belong in the Kentucky Derby.
Andie, here's a look at Captain Cook, colt by Practical Joke, who has done some big things since he was acquired out of the Keeneland November sale by St. Elias Stable. This was part of the John Hendrickson dispersal. He was one of the most sought after pieces from that group of horses that was dispersed at the Keeneland November sale. And he has not disappointed Vinny Viola in the two starts since he moved over to the Rick Duttrow barn.
Yeah, no, he has not disappointed at all. Two very impressive wins strung together in a row. And this is a horse who's always shown a lot of talent. I mean, you guys all know I gallop for Norm regularly, and this is a horse who he absolutely fell in love with over the summer and really saw all the potential in the world in him. So, you know, everything happens for a reason, sales dispersal. Very unfortunate with that happening, but this is a really talented horse, and he always has been talented, so he should be really taken seriously.
I mean, it's like you said, Maddie, it's these inside two are the main ones. And I mean, it could be game on pretty early on in this race between these two.
Yeah, and I think the tough thing is we take a look at the run from Rodriguez. Scott, if you're looking for an alternative, you need the inside two horses to both lay eggs. And it'd be one thing if they were all relatively close as far as form and speed figures were concerned, and you say, okay, you know what, I can make the case for the 8-1 shot or the 10-1 shot. They would need to jump up and have both of the inside two horses not show up. Now, Rodriguez, again, he's kind of, for whatever reason, you end up not making the lead and your goose is cooked. If you make the lead, he might be able to get Brave out there. I don't think the distance is a problem. I just don't think he has shown a willingness to pass horses yet. So you have a few kind of, darn if you do, darn if you don't there. But with the rest of this field, Hill Road, I think is appealing. I think there's a chance, but I'm not totally convinced that he's the sort of horse that is going to end up working out. Apparently, he's out of the race. That's what happens when you're flying across the country. You don't see that he's not going to run in the spot. But point being, the rest of the field, they've got a lot to prove, and I don't think you're going to be fairly compensated enough to take a shot against the inside runners.
Matt Bernier, you're not in the Upside Down as what's the show on Netflix, Andy? I can't think about it. What's the show? Why am I blanking right now with the kids?
Do you want me to come back?
I'm going to have you come back. Yeah, Stranger Things. Thank you. You flipped over. So, all right, we're going to kick him out. We're going to get him back to the right. But as far as Rodriguez, yeah, he does have something to prove. I mean, like we said, Andy, this is an opportunity for both of these horses to do so. Todd Pletcher has a horse in Grande, the number 7 horse, might be the hunch play of the day because I think Matt was drinking a Grande Starbucks as he stopped there in the LA traffic. Colt by Curlin, Rapoli Stable, out of a Warfront First Dam, big family here, but he comes out of allowance races and he's been allowed to progress, right? Which a lot of times we don't see these horses get the opportunity to do so, but he is a horse that is gone from maiden special weight to allowance company and now is ready for the big time, according to the connections, and rightfully so, to run in the Grade 2 Wood Memorial.
Grande deserves a test at this group. He's a gorgeous horse. I've seen him in person, both of his runs, and he is has the physical makings of a good horse. And I think he is really going to appreciate the long stretch over at Aqueduct and everything. Like, he's just a big, very lanky kind of horse. I know the inside horses are going to be tough, but I definitely think there are a couple outside horses who could jump up there, Grande being one of them.
Yeah, he is 5-1 in the morning line. Dylan Davis, who's had a wonderful meet out there at Aqueduct in New York, is going to get the opportunity to ride. There is a scratch out of this race. Hill Road is a horse that will not compete, but he didn't have an opportunity to scratch him out of our graphics. So it's a field that's scratched down to 11. So we've taken a look at those runners. And then finally, we'll leave you with a look and thoughts on Sand Devil, the number 5 horse for Linda Rice. Won his first 3 starts, all against New York bred company. And then last time out, he runs second to Flood Zone, who we'll see in the UAE Derby early Sunday morning at Meydan.
Yeah, I don't mind this horse at all, Scott. I mean, even with that second place effort behind Flood Zone, you see how game he is. You see how contentious he is. And he had a horrible start. He stumbled at the start and was still so willing at the end of the day. I think he's one to be taken seriously. I know he's a New York bred, but he's certainly bred to handle this 1.125 distance. He's by Violence out of a mine shaft mare. So I definitely think he should. I mean, he's kind of your price horse in here.
Yeah, he should be probably, I'd say, third choice in the end in this race, especially with a horse like Sand Devil scratching. Not that he was going to end up being vying for a lot of that win money from a horse like Grande, but nonetheless, we expect to see him finish, as far as the wagering is concerned, end up finishing third in that run. Where he finishes in the end, we will find out come post time on Saturday. Also, we have on-site coverage at Aqueduct. Anthony Pascal is going to be making the journey out there tomorrow for that race. And so we'll have Anthony there for us in New York to bring you New York's final Kentucky Derby prep race. So we've got team coverage throughout the country, as we always do here on FanDuel TV, or at least over on FanDuel TV. Let's talk about where we're going to be at, Andy. We're going to be at the Toyota Bluegrass. All right, so this race was supposed to be Saturday. They have shifted opening day to Sunday, and thus they have shifted the Friday card, which includes the Ashland to Monday, and then the Toyota Bluegrass comes on Tuesday. We've got Matt back. He is back with us right side up. So, Matty, thank you for getting that sorted out. We've moved on to the Toyota Bluegrass, And I'll come back to you. I know that we talked about the Wood Memorial and group of horses that need to prove themselves. The one horse that needs to prove himself amongst all others in this Derby picture, East Avenue. What do we do with East Avenue with as good as he was last year in the Claiborne Breeders' Futurity? And then we'll give him a pass for the Breeders' Cup, didn't break. But what in the world happened to East Avenue in the Fairgrounds prep that we saw him last time?
It's the $1 million question, right? Because the good version can do this, what we saw in that Breeders' Futurity. The bad version is going to finish last, beaten 25 lengths. And what I would say is, from a gambling standpoint, if he is close to the 3-1 morning line, he's a terrible bet. If he floats up, and I don't know that he will, because he's got that name recognition, and again, people know what he can do when he goes out there and fires his A game. I don't think he's a good bet at that number. If he floats, then maybe you can take a bit of a shot with him. My bigger concern would be, it seems like, this is just my guess, when he doesn't get the lead, I don't want to say he sulks. I don't know enough about, horse body language and things like that, but he just hasn't run a step when he hasn't been on the lead. When he gets the lead, he goes out there and runs a hole in the wind. The problem is, with River Thames down on the inside, I don't see any scenario where, if East Avenue makes the lead, it's going to be a very, very hot pace early on, because the one has one way to go, I would think.
Andy, you're shaking your head up and down. Yes, that I'm assuming you agree or are confirming the fact that East Avenue's the type that just sulks, to steal the
Yeah.
word from Maddie, about the way that he runs when he doesn't make the lead.
100%. And this is so think about horses, especially young horses. You sometimes see very precocious, really talented young horses. They are so good. They have all the ability. And then finally, they are tested. You throw them in the deep water and they get their heart broken a little bit. I mean, for us, for like people who run, they reach that runner's high, that like threshold of pain. And a true athlete, a true runner wants to be in that zone. Like, put me in the red zone. I love that runner's high. I love that feeling. Some horses are like that. They see that, they feel that red zone. They're like, I love it. I want to be there. Then some horses reach that threshold for the first time and they go, this ain't for me. And I mean, I kind of feel like that's the case with East Avenue. I feel like he's kind of lost his confidence. As Matt just says, when he's not commanding the race, he quits. And he's certainly in deeper waters. You could also argue that the Breeders' Futurity, who did he beat in there? Ferocious came
Yeah.
no good. Veloso, no good. Like, I mean, not saying those horses can't make a comeback and do better, but they ain't make it this far on the Derby Trail. So come on. Like, I agree with Matt. If you're gonna get like a higher price, like, go for it. He's a gorgeous horse. I'm a sucker for him. I love him. Wish him all the best, but I really don't think he's that genuine heart of gold, honest type.
It's got to that point too, though. I mean, Andy brought that up with East Avenue. You could almost say the same things about Chancer McPatrick. You go through and you look at all the horses that he's defeated. I mean, they're also rans in any of these spots. And to be fair, he ran, I think, very fine, credibly, in the Tampa Bay Derby. But another instance where you've got a bit to find here. I thought he ended up with a beautiful trip in behind Owen Almighty, and Owen Almighty just outkicked him. And I know the pace scenario had a lot to do with that. And the pace on Tuesday should be much different for Owen Almighty. I do wonder a little bit that the 2-year-olds that we thought so highly of, and it's the it's the blessing and the curse of heat of the moment. Last thing you saw was the greatest thing you've ever seen. Now, with some time, I think it's fair to look back at that 2-year-old group of the horses that were running at that point. I think this is a good 3-year-old group, top to bottom. But the 2-year-olds, maybe they were just the precocious ones and they haven't trained on.
Well, that happens often, Matt. I mean, I think that historically we can look at 2-year-olds that just haven't moved on, and you could say that about 2-year-olds at large. I think that there's been a shift, and there's always a shift, right? And whether it's one way or the other way, but I think a shift in the way of connections being willing to be more patient with horses and maybe change that mindset. I think that this Derby point system changed that mindset too, right? Because, you could be aggressive with horses with graded stakes earnings 15, 16 years ago, whatever it's been, and then, ease them into the Derby and build them back up. But I think that it's changed things in that sense too. I mean, I might be completely off base with that. And going back to East Avenue, doesn't it sound like the same conversation that we had at points with Fierceness last year?
Yeah, very much so. Where the
True.
connections are looking around, going, there's nothing wrong with him. He trains like a monster in the mornings, and sometimes he shows up, sometimes he doesn't. I think, to me, the difference with Fierceness, at least, was he had that clunker, and then he came back with the Breeders' Cup as a 2-year-old. I believe the Champagne was the dud.
Right.
He ran awesome in the Breeders' Cup. Came back with that bit of a dud to start his 3-year-old year at Gulfstream, and then romped in the Florida Derby. East Avenue, we have consecutive non-efforts now, so it's genuinely, if you still have faith in him, I just would want you as a gambler, or I'm going to speak for myself, I would want to be rewarded if I were staying with him at 3-1. I just think he's a terrible bet at that kind of a price. And again, that name recognition alone, I think he may be in that kind of territory come post time.
And he gets Luan Machado back aboard. He rode him on debut at Ellis. Tyler Gaffleone sidelined for several weeks to come. So the jockey picture that we're so used to seeing here at Keeneland changes dramatically on the top end, because Tyler is always Tyler and Irad battling it out. It seemed down to the wire each and every one of these meets. So Luan, he's familiar with the horse Brokers made again at Ellis Park. I'm going to give you the stage on Burnham Square. Is he still, Matt? Is he still your number one Derby on your Derby list, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago on air?
Yes, because of one of the things that we touched on. So many people are fixated on wins, wins, wins. If you lose, it clearly means that you can't run and you don't have any talent, which I've never understood. But again, I think it's just a product of, the here and now and heat of the moment. This is a horse that the distance is his friend. I don't even know that he's necessarily going to win Tuesday. Maybe he doesn't even run all that well. He just get me some points. Get to the starting gate at Churchill Downs, because that 1.25 miles, specifically with that stretch, those are all going to be benefits for him. The big thing is, I love the way that Ian Wilkes laid it out. I believe it was with Kate, and I apologize if it was with somebody else down there. But the interview that he gave with them, saying, you know what, it's time for him to put his big boy pants on. He does all the things right in the morning, but there's a reason that we made the equipment change, because he hasn't been helping the rider much. And you saw that again in the Fountain of Youth. The Fountain of Youth, say what you will, I think it was a decent enough race, but he was flattered certainly with Tapan Street when he came back and won coming out of that Holy Bull. So I still believe that distance is this horse's friend. He's going to get the pace that he needs. He's run well at Churchill in the past. We just need to get through Tuesday. And I don't know. I mean, you guys will have a better idea than I would as far as what the weather looks like and what kind of track we'll be dealing with on Tuesday. That's a wild card for most of these horses. But if there's a legitimate pace, which I think there should be, I expect him to come with a run.
It looks like the weather is going to be, we're going to get, as of right now, and things change constantly and have throughout the entire week, we're going to get rain consistently for the next 3 days, through Sunday, drying out Monday and Tuesday. So fingers crossed. I'm sure, and one of the best track teams and groups, as we all know, in the game, Keeneland, they'll have it as fast as they possibly can on Tuesday. What are your thoughts quickly, Andy, on Burnham Square?
I don't like him. I think he crapped the bed last time in the Fountain of Youth. I think he's gonna crap the bed again coming up here. Like that homeboy was washy in the paddock, and he only got worse as we got close to the gate. Like, I think Holy Bull might have been his little, like, that might have been his, he reached his zone, and he doesn't want to get back there. And he's kind of like a blue collar horse, like kind of coal battle vibes. But the thing about coal battle, you put the tack on, it grows 3 inches all around. He's like, yeah, I'm coal battle. Burnham Square just gets smaller and smaller and smaller as you get to the starting gate. He's like, ah, like panic mode. And I just think he's kind of reached his cap at the Holy Bull, and I think it stays there. And I think he's just going to be our Holy Bull winner, and that's it.
Colorful commentary from Andie Biancone. We've got two more horses to touch on for the Toyota Bluegrass. Let us start with River Thames from the inside. Can we give him another try, Matt? Second time going long, being run down by Sovereignty. Is there more there? Stretching out a little bit more?
I think there's more there. I think you and I mentioned this when we were on together a few weeks ago. I think he shifted into neutral here. Nick Hines was the one that first pointed it out. But watch his ears; they go right up here, and I don't think that's the difference necessarily. I mean, Sovereignty had a full head of steam down the center of the track, but I do think that this River Thames is still kind of figuring things out. I'd be lying if I said I was super confident that this distance is going to be his bread and butter. I feel like you can say that with a handful of these horses that we're going to see on Saturday and Tuesday. But I still think there's room for improvement talent wise, and maybe he's just going to catch the right group, and more importantly, maybe he gets a decent trip.
I know pedigree doesn't say everything. His pedigree says he has distance limitations. That's it. I know it doesn't
Yeah.
pan out because if Andy pedigree told us everything about a horse and what they were going to do, we would all be millionaires and we would be cashing tickets left and right. So uh, horses can go further than what historically their half brothers and not half brothers by the same stallion can do. And that's the beauty of this game. Owen Almighty, I like this horse. I like the fact that they're continuing to take this shot. And I think that this is an example of what I just said, Andy. I know Brian Lynch said for the longest time, like they're going to cut him back. He's going to be a one-turn horse, but they're taking their chance. And we know how important Keeneland is to the team behind Flying Dutchman. And why not take that opportunity? There's always time to cut back on the heels of what he just did in the Tampa Bay Derby. How the hell do you not run him in the Toyota Bluegrass?
Yeah, agree 1000%. And I love Owen Almighty. He's been an amazing physical specimen since the very beginning. Even as a 2-year-old early on in the fall meet at Churchill Downs, he just looked like a man amongst boys the whole time. And he's carried that form. He's continued to grow, he's continued to progress. I know I mean, like you just said, Scott, based on his pedigree, Owen Almighty also might be one of those who has some distance limitations. But with what he did at the Tampa Bay Derby and with the time of year that it is, you have to give him a try. And I would say out of all these horses, he's my top pick. I've always really liked him. I like the way he did it in the Tampa Bay Derby. He's a gorgeous horse, got a good mind. Um, I love him.
These are stallion making type races. And I know that that's not what we're talking about, but when you can win races like this, you take your shot. That's what they're doing. Again, Toyota Bluegrass Stakes is rescheduled for Tuesday. Opening weekend coverage begins on Sunday, Sunday through Friday, April 25th. We are rolling 8 straight days at Keeneland. So get tied on. We're going to have a lot of action for you in those 8 days. If my math's correct, we conclude half the meet when it comes to Keeneland, straight through when it comes to this first week of racing. So we're blessed to be there. Ashland is on Monday. That's been rescheduled as well. That's for the Oaks Prep fillies. And then the $1.25 million Grade 1 Toyota Bluegrass is on Tuesday. Matt is not in LA just to enjoy the traffic and take in as many Starbucks as he can between LAX and the greater Arcadia area. He's there for the Grade 1 Santa Anita Derby. And I think it's safe to say that if you were to poll everybody, the majority has shifted from a number one Derby horse, from a horse like Barnes just a month or so ago, to journalism. I mean, he is the hot horse. He is the now horse right now, given what he did in the San Felipe, Matt.
Yeah, and I can't with a straight face argue with anyone that says he's just simply better than everyone else. The race that he ran, the way that he ran, the kind of talent that he ran down, all off the layoff, all for a trainer in Michael McCarthy. He is one of those guys that it seems like they get better the more racing they do, the more time they have. For him to be this good this early, I think is kind of scary for the majority of the rest of this group. I do find it interesting too. Look, I'm in the camp that with Barnes, I do wonder ultimately where do we cap the distance with him as well. Maybe he is going to be better around one turn. But the funny thing is, kind of talking out of both sides of your mouth, if a horse like journalism didn't exist, we'd be sitting here talking about Barnes as the leading light for the Kentucky Derby with a 105 buyer winning by the length of the stretch. So this may not be a big field. This is a very talented field, top to bottom, and I'm not afraid to just say it. I mean, the race goes through journalism. There's no two ways around it.
Yeah, especially Andy, when Michael McCarthy and Aaron Wellman of the Eclipse Thoroughbred Partners, who co-owned this horse with Bridlewood Farm, said that he was, I think, if memory serves correctly, like 80% ready for the San Felipe. So if he's 90 and then 100 a month from now, that's a scary thought. And Michael's one of those guys who's going to shoot it to you straight, right, Andy? Like he's not just
Absolutely.
saying that to say it.
Yeah, no, he is he's not going to sugarcoat anything. And journalism is a serious horse. Even in the San Felipe, this horse came from off the pace and ran down Barnes. I mean, Santa Anita has to be one of the most speed biased racetracks in America. I don't know what it is, but it is very difficult to close. Even when you're galloping horses on that track, it's so weird. You could be like, oh man, I'm about to get run off with. And then you hit the quarter pole and it's like, Like they just come back to you. And it's like it's really, really difficult to close. So the fact that he was able to do that really to me is a testament of just how talented he is.
And then you've got the 2-year-old champion who is still the champion. He's 1 for 1 this year. He beat Rodriguez, who's going to be one of the favorites for the Wood Memorial, as we just talked about. I just, and we'll see. I like journalism better, Matt, but I honestly think that this has been one of the most overlooked and arguably disrespected horses of this entire 3-year-old picture.
I may be at the top of the list as far as the disrespect goes, just because he has done nothing wrong as far as when he goes out there and runs his races. He's been very good. You can't poke any holes in that. The concern I would have is it just seems like it is gift wrap trip after gift wrap trip where, and I don't mean that in a nefarious way. I just mean he's been able to get out there on the easiest of leads and coasts. And I'll be very interested to see what happens on Saturday because Barnes, I think Barnes is naturally faster. I don't know that you're going to see the two Baffert horses get into a duel early on. So, and I know that they've been kind of taking Barnes back in workouts and trying to get him to rate in pass runners. I don't know if that's the best recipe for him going forward. But point being, Citizen Bull is a really nice horse, and I need to throw that caveat out there. I'm not sitting here saying he can't run. He's just had a lot of things go his way so far in his career, and I just want to see what happens when there's some adversity. That's all.
Yeah, and also I completely agree with you, but also too, and Andy and Matt obviously chime in. Um, you can only encounter adversity when people are able to put adversity on you, right? And
Sure.
that's exactly what's happened with him. So we shall see. And I think Andy, the biggest thing is how is Baffert going to team tactic this thing up, right? I mean, how's this going to work out? Maybe this Andy's an opportunity for them to see how Citizen Bull manages off the pace because he's already got a spot in the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, definitely. This could be the test for Citizen Bowl, but I kind of agree with what Matt is saying. Not that he's had perfect trips, but also looking back in his past performances, like who has he beat? His stablemates, his work buddies, like Rodriguez, Getaway Car, Gaming. Like these are all horses he probably works with and beats up on every morning. So, with that being said, he's a gorgeous horse, really, just outstanding physical. And I do like the layoff move with how he's been working here. Obviously, Bob Baffert extremely capable with this kind of layoff, especially with how they work in the mornings. And just looking at his work tab, it really seems to me like he's dead set to win this race. Like 6 furlongs in mid and 12, 6 furlongs in mid and 12, 5 furlongs in 59, 5 furlongs in 58. Like this boy is coming on in on jets. So it is the real test. He's meeting some deep company here, but if he's able to succeed, it really solidifies him as maybe the top contender going into the Kentucky Derby.
3 Baffert horses in here. Sheriff's has 2. He's got a maiden Westwood who's going to be the longest shot in the field. That's write that down right now. I mean, not that anybody has to, but then Baeza, the number 5 horse in here, McKinsey Colt just broke his maiden. He's going to be 4th choice in this race. $1.2 million purchase out of the Keeneland September sale. He's got the pedigree, right? I mean, he's a half brother to Mage as well as Dornoch, and he's progressed. So there's a lot of upside here with this colt. Who knows how good he is?
I mean, and he hasn't done anything wrong, and that's the thing. For him to not be an afterthought, but to not be among the top 3 in a field of 5, just goes to show you how deep this field really is. Because he himself could be very, very good, and I guess I'm rooting for him. I won't be picking him. I'm going to pick journalism. I'm rooting for him because has there ever been a mare that has produced 3 consecutive Derby starters?
No.
That's a tough one to come up with. I mean, she
That's
would
a
go
stunning
down.
number.
She would go down as one of the greatest broodmares of all time. I mean, just what she's done the last couple of years, still amongst the conversation of one of the best modern day broodmares. I mean, Leslie's Lady right now for me, modern day
Yeah.
history, she's going to be tough to supplant because you look at all the horses that she produced and where they won around the world and the impact that Into Mischief had as well. But Andy, this is a colt that $1.2 million. Yeah, you're going to pay $1.2 million for a son of McKinsey from that first crop, who's a half brother to Mage and Dornoch, and he wasn't even a brother to Dornoch when they purchased him, so it panned out, right? I mean, he was, but he wasn't at that point as far as the catalog is concerned. So You know, is he? I want to come back to Andy on the thought on him in a second, but is he maybe the play if you're looking for that price, Baeza, Matt? Considering the price that you're going to get, you talk about East Avenue being 3-1 or higher.
Yeah,
I mean, he's going to automatically be that price given who he's running against.
purely, yeah, just purely on math. He can't help but be something close to that morning line of 6-1. And assuming you're not, I put it this way, my question will be, how short is journalism? Because I could make the case that anything close to even money on him is actually a very square
Right.
number. But if he ends up into the 3 to 5 range, then you can look at a horse like Baeza and say, look, if you're going to give me 6 or 7-1 on a runner that is on the uptick, he's got the pedigree in spades. For him to be this good this early for John Sheriffs, who's another trainer that he will take his time, I agree with you, Scott. I mean, I think I would put it this way. He would be, assuming journalism doesn't go off at something like evens, he would be the bet for me, Beza.
Yeah. I mean, and the fact that this horse just keeps improving numbers wise by leaps and bounds with every run. He's capable of sitting forward. He did it last time with a hot pace, but he's also capable of kind of rallying from off of it. And dude, this horse has some gas, like 6 furlongs in 110. Like he's like you guys said, he's got the makings, he's got the pedigree. Puka, she's like president of the PTA, horse PTA at this point with her like honor roll children. So yeah, I definitely like Baiza.
Well, there we go. I'm just looking up. I'm sorry. I'm listening to you both. I can be distracted with certain things, but I just wanted to, and I'm because I know you're using your phone, Matt. I just wanted to pull up exactly how far your commute is right
Oh,
now
Jesus.
from you're in the downtown LA to Arcadia. So hour and 17 minutes. And you've only got 22 miles to cover. So hour 17, that or wait another 3 hours in the Starbucks parking lot and buy a couple more coffees and stay up till about 6 a.m.
I don't know what's more depressing, that number or the fact that it took me as long as it did to get from LAX here. And this was supposed to be 20 minutes, and that was pretty close to an hour. So living the dream, bud. Living the dream.
Hey, we battle in LA. That's what we do. Can't wait to
By the way,
see
it's
you
raining.
out. Yeah,
It's raining. Yeah. So not nearly the rain that the real rain, but just, another kind of just curveball at you. Southern California rain.
just no earthquakes. That's all we
That's
ask, right? No
yeah.
Oh, God, don't, please don't. I don't that'd be-
You can't predict that. Onside coverage at Santa Anita Derby, Santa Anita Oaks on the undercard. Oaks Prep, Derby Prep, big stuff this weekend presented by Spendthrift Farm. We're all over the country. Santa Anita, Lexington for the Toyota Bluegrass on Tuesday. And as I mentioned, Anthony is going to be in New York at Aqueduct. And then tomorrow morning, the UAE Derby, that takes place on Saturday. Tomorrow morning, I bring that up because Dave Weaver and Jeff Stafford are going to be joining us here on this show, not us, joining those that join them on the show from Dubai. So we've got that to look forward to at 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Eastern time. And we'll see how that one plays out, talking about the Dubai World Cup card. Andy, thank you. Maddie, thank you. Andy's got one. Before we go, Andy's got one. When is your filly running? She's got a 2-year-old that she loves, and you're going up against Wesley Ward. What day is that? I can't keep track of my days with all this shifting of race cards.
It's Sunday, first race on Sunday, first Leinster to ever run. And here, look, familial drama, but Caitlin Ward, who is Riley Ward's wife, who's my best friend, so Wesley Ward's son, this is
Right.
her horse. So it's kind of family going up against family. But all in good fun. And I love Lenny Lou. She is an absolute champ, like acts like an older horse, so good and fast out of the gate. I'm gonna spill the tea on her on Sunday before the races. I got some inside info, but yeah, she's fast. I like her.
All right. She's going to be priced, Maddie. I mean, because you've got Wesley with the runner in there, and Todd Pletcher's got a filly. I can't think of the last time Pletcher ran a 2-year-old in the spring at Keeneland. He's got he's got a good magic filly out of the mare Discreet Moon for the Wertheimers, who looks quick. So there's going to be a price on the Biancone runner, Lenny Lou.
I'm not going to hold you to this, Andy. Where does this filly stack up to Elaine when she debuted?
You know what? Different, because this one is very much targeted for this task,
Okay.
and I don't and she's distance limited. She's petite with that, it's still very early on in the year. Who knows how she'll grow and change, but this one is like ready to go for
All right.
Sunday. That
I
was
like it.
like the goal. That's the immediate goal. Whereas Unchained Elaine, always had very high hopes for her. Kind of, first race, we had high expectations, but she finished second and went on to, be who she is today. But I do like Lenny Lou a lot. She's got that gas. She's fast.
First race of the meet too. She is
Yeah.
live in the first race of the meet with the card shifting to Monday and Tuesday. The Friday and Saturday cards shifting to Monday and Tuesday. Andie, Matt, thank you. If you want some comedy, check out the comment lines. I'm not going to get into it, but Matt and Ricky and some other dude getting after it. There's some funny stuff going on there.
It gets a little crazy after this is like on social show after hours or something.
Apparently, yes. Including some of the comments you made, Andie. I'm not going to revisit those, but nonetheless. Andie, Matt, thank you so much. Can't wait to see the both of you. I'll see you, I think, out there tomorrow morning. And Matt, I'll see you out at Churchill Downs in a month or
I'll see you next week.
to that. I'll see you next week, Keeneland. All right.
Yeah, get a breather at home.
If you make it to Arcadia and back to LAX, maybe next week. You might get to LAX by next week.
I might miss my flight.
You might. There's a good chance of it. That's it for us. Make sure you join the team tomorrow morning from Dubai. That is Dave Weaver and Jess Stafford for their 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern time show talking about the Dubai World Cup, UAE Derby, part of that discussion. Until next time, we'll see you out at the racetrack as we get set for a huge weekend